Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of All Access AM. I am Billy Embody. Happy Monday to you guys. Not much going on this weekend, right? No college football playoff reveal, no bowl games announced, no championship weekend. Just a calm, cool, collected weekend at home. Probably watching some NFL games, right, everyone? Wrong. Chaos reigns supreme. Notre Dame is saying no thanks to a bowl game after getting snubbed by the College Football Playoff Committee. We'll see about that and how the results play out in the College Football Playoff, which is now out there, which is what we're going to lead off with on today's All Access AM. We've got to get a game plan here, guys. This is a crowded episode of things to talk about, thoughts to share, all of those things that are going on. And oh, by the way, Brent Pry is back in the ACC. Not only back in the ACC, back at Virginia Tech in a coaching capacity too, as coaching changes continue to impact the league as well. We'll talk about that on All Access AM. Monday episode is presented by our friends at Security National Bank. Go to securitynational.bank for more information on how they can help you reach your financial goals, whether that be your personal goals, your business goals, however you want them to help you manage your wealth or manage your money. They can do all of those things for you and do that with a mindfulness of your particular situation, set of circumstances, family background, because they are a family business over there at Security National Bank, and they'll be there for you whenever you need them. Decades of experience at Security National Bank. So please click the link in our podcast episode description page or follow it for more information on how Security National Bank can help you, again, achieve your financial goals. Like I said, a crowded episode of All Access AM. We appreciate you guys for joining us here bright and early, 7 to 8 a.m. Central Time, 8 to 9 Eastern Time, live on our channel. We do this Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we have got a ton to talk about. So let's do this. Let's set the table for you guys. We are going to discuss the college football playoff right off the bat because that's what everybody wants. That's what everybody wants to talk about, I feel like, at least. We'll get into the ACC Championship game because those implications from Duke beating Virginia, congratulations, Duke, on that overtime thriller in Charlotte, set in motion all of the things that happened with the Bulls, including Notre Dame opting out of a bowl game. So we've got a lot of that to discuss on the show, and we'll get right into it here on the new show. By the way, speaking of new show, I meant new mic. We have a new mic. So if you are having issues hearing it, please let me know in the comments. But I think I tested it, and I think we're in good shape there. And we are rocking the Artemis 1 hat today because liftoff has certainly started on the college football playoff and where we are going with that. Hayden Howerton in the chat this morning. Should be a punishable offense to decline a bowl game and end the season prematurely. To end a senior's career early is immature by the leadership of Notre Dame, Iowa State, and as well Kansas State. But I see where Notre Dame is coming from with ending their season early. They have played a ton of football over the last couple of seasons, but to end it just like that is, especially when you're going to go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. The Pop-Tarts Bowl is a blast. Great time. You can go to Orlando. You can enjoy all of the things that Orlando has to offer. Disney World, do all the rides, Universal, all the things that bowl game does. That's just, I feel for the bowl committee, and I think we're going to see at some point some changes around college football with the bowl season. So that said, we'll see how that goes. Notre Dame, drawing their line in the sand around that. The college football playoff. Here it is. Here's a look at it. It is quite the 12-team bracket that we've got here. We've got, of course, Indiana, the number 1 overall seed, Ohio State number 2, Georgia number 3, Texas Tech number 4, and then you get into Oregon number 5, Ole Miss number 6, Texas A&M 7, Oklahoma 8, Alabama 9, Miami 10, Tulane 11, and James Madison 12. Two group of five teams making the college football playoff. We've got thoughts on that, but truthfully, it's just something that I think has to be addressed. I hate it because I've seen group of five teams and what and how much they put into it, and all of the things that they need is just a shot and just an opportunity. But man, both teams have losses on their resume, and for me, that's just kind of a non-starter when you look at the group of five and what you need to do to have a shot at a national championship. Tulane's loss is, or one of their losses is 45-10 to Ole Miss, which is where they play in the first round. And obviously a lot of changes around Ole Miss, but just don't give me that again. You know what I mean? That's kind of the hard thing about this. And we get a rematch of Oklahoma, Alabama at Oklahoma. We've already seen that game play out once this season. So if you want my honest opinion, this bracket just lacks a lot of juice overall, especially these first round games. I mean, James Madison going all the way to Oregon, whatever, sacrificial lamb status for the Ducks probably. Tulane, unless they really find an absolute way to throw away what they did in Oxford earlier this year and take advantage of all of the turmoil and changes around the Ole Miss program. I think we're going to see a similar type of result there. And then you get Oklahoma, Alabama. Who knows kind of on that one how that'll play out, but Oklahoma does get to play at home. They have the blueprint. I think the blueprint for them is very similar to what they did in Tuscaloosa. And then you get Miami A&M, which is the top game. I think this is the matchup that you really look at if you're Miami and you say, one, thank you, lucky stars up there, for getting us into the college football playoff first and foremost. But two, this is a Texas A&M team that the last 2 weeks or so of the regular season have not looked like they did earlier this year when they beat Notre Dame, which is why, in part, Notre Dame is out of the college football playoff. Thanks to BYU losing, that put Miami and Notre Dame next to each other. That put them in discussion with the committee, and the committee did the right thing, in my opinion, as far as not ignoring the head-to-head matchup between Miami and Notre Dame. Results on the field have to matter. That said, this committee is the worst of the college football playoff era. You look at Alabama being the only team to lose college football's conference championship weekend over the last few years and the only one to drop. And that is, or to not drop, excuse me. And that is just astounding. I thought for sure you would see them at least slide back to that 10 spot. That would open the door for a Miami to play at Oklahoma. And that would give Alabama a game against Texas A&M as well in College Station. That would have been a better scenario, in my opinion, but that is not the case. You have Miami sneaking into the college football playoff through their kind of backdoor nest that the committee really set up for them. You know, the committee is the one that teed all this up weeks ago when they kept Miami and Notre Dame just far apart where they couldn't be compared to each other. And that's frustrating because all of this kind of drama and you know, I think shock could have been avoided by the committee if they would have just acknowledged their ranking of Miami being, I think, criminally low earlier in the season, and then them having to and overcorrect it to the point where Miami is now not even a villain in a sense, but certainly a school and a program that doesn't get the celebration and the accolades that they deserve for the season they had when they are put into the playoff. It's all about Notre Dame, how Notre Dame was snubbed, how Alabama didn't move, all of those things. This committee doing it the way they did just showed just how big of a screwed up process this is, in my opinion. You've got Miami, who largely, throughout the season has been a dominant football team. Their two losses, both by one possession, one at home to Louisville when your quarterback throws for picks. I saw one of the ESPN analysts bringing up Alabama's turnover margin against Oklahoma earlier this year, or something like that, as a reason why, okay, that game wasn't, it was more of a fluke or whatever. And like, I'm with you. Like, if your quarterback, who is normally not turning the ball over, turns the ball over, you're going to see a game that could go sideways and could go, different than the 9 other times out of 10 you might play that game. That's Carson Beck versus Louisville. Then they get the overtime loss on the road against SMU, an SMU team that did spend some time in the top 25 before flaming out there in Cal last weekend, 2 weekends ago. So you have all these different arguments, but the committee really teed this up the wrong way for Miami. They teed it up where Miami had to be this villain, this stumping villain for the ACC to get a team in, because of how messed up the ACC ended up being, because it's not a 9-game schedule in that league. It's not a nine-game conference schedule. So all of this really stems back to the 9-game conference schedule, which I think now the ACC needs to get into overdrive on. But the college football playoff does get an ACC team in. It comes at the cost of Notre Dame. Miami, one, again, should be thanking their lucky stars that they're in, but at the same time, the right decision was made, in my opinion. You can't have the type of results that Miami did in the schedule that Miami did this season and it be ignored compared to a Notre Dame schedule that the best wins, I think, were a top 20 USC team at the time, a 22nd ranked Pitt team at the time. This is a Miami team that, got that win in the season opener against Notre Dame. And guess what? Unless we're going to start playing preseason games that don't matter, like a Miami Notre Dame, and that's week 1, they got to matter. And they did in the end. And so kudos to the committee for getting the right resume in my opinion. And, you could say Notre Dame's losses were very close, but Miami's losses were very close. And sometimes in league play, sometimes in that grind, you get more of those competitive games that lead to losses. Notre Dame doesn't sit there in a conference. Their schedule, built the way it is going to give them, most of the time right now in today's day and age of college football, a marquee game or two early in the season, and then the rest, it's just coasting. And so Notre Dame has to fix their schedule. I don't know if that involves them looking at all of this and saying, okay, we need to eventually go into a conference and we need to have maybe some sort of special rights in that conference. What happens to their deal with NBC, that type of a situation. But I don't think they're going to end up doing that. I just don't think that's what they want. They've been very clear about that. And why would they be? But at the end of the day, you could also make the argument that Miami is in because it is an ESPN property. That is something that is not really being talked about a lot. But instead of ticking off the ACC, which is an ESPN property, and they do, despite loving themselves some SEC football, do want to make sure that they can take care of their leagues and their properties, ESPN, College Football Playoff, did the right thing getting Miami in as a big brand. Instead of saying, all right, well, we know that Duke would probably beat James Madison most times. And, Duke has enough of a track record where you could certainly convince me that James Madison would beat them. And I am not advocating for Duke in any world or in any setting, but the ACC needed to be represented, or else we would have really seen some changes overall, I think, to this setup and some of the things that are going on with the college football playoff. So Miami gets in. They do face number 7 Texas A&M on the road. I think that's the number 1 matchup for me as far as intrigue going into the first weekend. A lot of people will talk about Oklahoma, Alabama, of course, but that is a rematch. I want to see A&M, Miami, a game that has been played between these two programs recently. 2023 being a Miami win. I think they played the year before that as well. But you do have a lot of intrigue with that. And then the winner goes to face Ohio State, who looked the part of a national championship level team, playing against Indiana, who most certainly looks the level of a national championship level team. And then you kind of fight it out, and maybe you'll face Georgia, maybe you'll face Ole Miss, or somehow Tulane on that side of the bracket. But that is not a bad path for Miami in a sense because of the way Miami plays, because of the style that they play in college football. So intrigued to see how Miami does. I don't love the having to go to College Station and play in that environment for Miami, but this is also a battle-tested Miami team, and they'll figure it out, I think, and be competitive in that game. And for the ACC, they need them to be. So that is kind of some scatter shooting of thoughts on the college football playoff reveal. Because Notre Dame got snubbed, it did throw in a bunch of moving parts as far as the bowl games, which we'll get to as far as the bowl chaos for the ACC. But let me end with this on Notre Dame. Notre Dame gets snubbed. Their reaction to it and their next steps were to cancel going to a bowl game. And I have a real problem with that in the standpoint of it's just a bowl game. Just go. And you're going to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, so I think you're playing on December 27th. So yes, you'll have to spend Christmas there or whatnot, but you're also in Orlando. You're in a great situation. Just play the bowl and just do it. Don't throw a tantrum. It's just really silly to me to see that be the reaction. But they should have been more on their toes as well. I think there was a lot of just Notre Dame's comfortable. It's not going to be, nothing's going to happen to Notre Dame. It's going to be Alabama that moves down and out, and then Miami's going to slide in, and that way they don't have to answer the head-to-head question. But I think they got it right, number one. Just the way Alabama's been able to play. Alabama's not sitting there at a 5 seed or a 6 seed or something like that. They're sitting at a 9 seed, okay? They're the highest ranked SEC team, or the lowest ranked SEC team in the bracket. And you could certainly argue that Miami, based on their wins and losses, should have been ahead of Alabama, but at the same time, Alabama has that third loss only because it played in the SEC Championship, which is something. Miami, if they would have gotten another win in the ACC Championship over a Virginia or over another team, that would have been a bowl eligible strong opponent. Maybe that would have catapulted them over Alabama. Again, goes back to the ACC not being a 9-game conference schedule, not getting some of these questions as far as who gets into the conference championship game, maybe a little bit better answered from the standpoint of would have been another opportunity for a data point for a Miami, would have been another data point for maybe a more capable pair of teams to compete and be successful in the college football playoff, both from a record and resume perspective, but also from a roster perspective. So this was the best thing that could have happened for the ACC outside of them, just getting a double lifeline with Duke jumping James Madison just as an ACC champion. So really, really intrigued to see what's next for Notre Dame. I think they will regroup. I think they will take it to 2026 now and say, all right, how do we fix this? How do we go out and schedule up and find a way to get past some of the early season issues? They play Wisconsin early, they play Michigan State, they play Purdue, they play North Carolina. They're pretty chill as far as their schedule. Their schedule is far worse next year from a resume opportunity perspective, except they host Miami at home. So in that game, slated for November 7th already. So really interested to see where SMU and USC slide in on that schedule. But right now, you've also got SMU, Stanford, Syracuse, and USC set to be scheduled for Notre Dame. But their schedule doesn't give them that second major opportunity like Texas A&M did this year early on in the season. So Notre Dame has to figure it out. They really have built themselves into a position where they can't have missteps because of the schedule that they have. You look ahead to 2027, it arguably gets a little bit better. They've got Purdue, terrible, Michigan State going through coaching changes, but then it's Auburn, Georgia Tech. Brent Key keeps things rolling. James Jake Dickert and Wake Forest getting things on the right track. Virginia Tech could be rolling by that time with James Franklin at Clemson, at Duke. That one's a more intriguing schedule as a whole, as far as maybe top to bottom. But Notre Dame has a schedule issue, and they've got to fix it. And until then, you have to operate with one loss. But Air Oski, thanks for joining us this morning. Sorry if I missed this, but do you have a prediction on what the ACC record will be during bowl season? We're going to run down the bowl games later in the show with some early thoughts. And I'm not sure if I'm going to share early predictions just yet, but we're going to do that on the show. We might do that this week because bowl games are upon us. So maybe the Wednesday, Thursday show. I want to kind of react to everything that happened this week and weekend and share some initial thoughts, and then we'll kind of set it up and tee it up like we do, almost like we'll treat maybe Thursday as like a game preview show. So thanks for listening, being here, Air Oscar. We appreciate you. Appreciate all of you guys listening as well on All Access AM YouTube. Do me a favor. I found a cool new trick on the StreamYard situation here. That is a QR code in the top right corner for me, or I guess top left corner for you, however it is up there for you. If you're watching on your computer, maybe you have us up on the office, maybe you have us up on your computer screen, or maybe you have us up on your TV even. Scan that QR code. It'll subscribe you to the All Access AM YouTube channel. We really appreciate you guys for doing all of that, helping us grow the channel. Again, we're sitting right at 200 subs. We really, really appreciate getting us over that hump, and we're excited to keep growing this thing. We are live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern time on All Access AM. So we appreciate you guys for joining us this morning. And as we continue on the show, we are going to get into now the ACC Championship recap. But before we do that, we got a quick word from our friends at Sportsmo. If you've been downloading the Sportsmo app, go to sportsmo.org and you can download it as well if you haven't already. And this is an easy way for you to give back to your school. You can make micro donations, micro pledges based on points, touchdowns, turnovers, sacks, whatever you want. Get ready for bowl season and try it out. Get your group of friends together in your chat and start talking about what you're going to quote unquote bet on for your Duke Blue Devils or your Clemson Tigers or your SMU Mustangs or whoever your college football team is. Check out the Sportsmo app. It's a great way to support them, the student athletes, because the money you pledge goes right to them and the school's general student athlete fund.
Sportsmo lets you make a more direct impact on the game because it lets you, the fans, fund your favorite college football teams in a straightforward way. In a you win and I'll give way. In a I need you to show me your running game is alive and then I'll donate way. These real-time tax-deductible microfunds lead to impact your team can feel. Every cent you send mixes with every drop of sweat they put in. Form your squad. Boost your friends when a play comes through. A new way to follow the game. And cha-ching, your favorite team. So what do you say, difference makers? Ready to power the play? Sportsmo. Download today. Let's smo.
That's right. Let's mo, and let's smo into the ACC Championship game breakdown. Duke wins 27-20 in overtime. Incredible cinema, so to speak, for this football game's ending. Thought the game largely was fairly boring. 2 turnovers for Virginia, 1 for Duke. Duke was able to manage that. That was the key. We talked about it. Darian Mensah, he throws an interception, relatively, I think, early in the game. Just kind of remember kind of watching it, and it felt like it was still early. But they didn't do anything to really hurt themselves beyond that. They ran the football well. They rushed it 137 yards, 128 to UVA. They owned the time of possession. I thought Johnny Brewer, the offensive coordinator at Duke, did a really nice job of knowing when to push the pace, also knowing when to eat the clock. And I think Manny Diaz, I think that was kind of what their game plan was, what they wanted to do. is grind down this Virginia defense, and they were able to do that. And I feel for Chandler Morris, throws 2 interceptions. One of them, kind of critical area where you're kind of backed up, and that gives Duke life, and they were able to take advantage of it. But when you look at this game as a whole, you've got to give Virginia credit. They never quit. They never stopped fighting. But man, this was. I picked Virginia to win, and I picked Virginia to win comfortably because I thought Duke, over the course of their season, had shown what they are, which is just kind of unable to beat some of the good teams on their schedule. At the same time, Virginia, and I should have given more credit to this piece of it, Virginia is a team that played with fire all season long. And I've said it on this podcast. I talked about it. It was why I didn't have Virginia in the conference championship game and making it there for a large part. And they needed, no help to get in like a Duke did, but they were able to take advantage just enough of the schedule they played. And we can look back on UVA's schedule and you go Florida State 1 possession game, Louisville 1 possession game overtime, Washington State 1 possession game needed a safety to win, North Carolina overtime, Cal late interception pick 6 gives them a double-digit win. That was a 1 possession game. Wake Forest 1 possession game. Duke and then Virginia Tech, those 2 games back to back to end the season were the only points of the season where Virginia really flexed. They really, since September, they had beaten Stanford comfortably, but they lost to NC State at the same time. And they closed to get to Charlotte. But their overall schedule didn't necessarily give them this huge, incredible test like Duke did. Duke faced Illinois. Duke faced Tulane, who's in the college football playoff. Duke faced UConn as well. Really strong independent program with Jim Moore Jr. getting hired away to be the Colorado State coach. Duke also faced Georgia Tech, and they were able to not win that game either. And of course, they lost to Virginia in the regular season. But Manny Diaz and that Duke staff learned a lot. I think they learned that Darian Mensah, when you put it all on his plate, is a very good quarterback, but he needs the right amount on his plate to be successful. And him managing this game so well, even that 1 interception was just one of 6 incompletions that he had on the day. I think interceptions are counted as incompletions. I know they are, but it sometimes is weird to talk about it like that. But 19 of 25 for he finished what was it? 196 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Really strong performance from him. That's why Duke paid up. Now they need to get that from him at a high level throughout the season and not put all that on his plate. But their game was really, really interesting from a play-by-play perspective and from following it and watching Duke go right down the field, 15 plays, 75 yards on the opening drive to score a touchdown and take a 7-0 lead. You had Virginia miss a field goal on the next drive. I thought, okay, when they were lining up for that field goal, I thought, all right, well, they're going to kind of settle in here, and this will kind of calm everybody down if they can get points on the board. Wrong, in a sense. I mean, or excuse me, not wrong. The UVA defense was able to step up after the missed field goal and get an interception off Darian Mensah. That's how they tied the game 7-7. And you're like, okay, this is where Virginia's going to race away with it. But that wasn't the case. It was Duke that kind of put their foot on the gas a little bit and built a really, really good situation for them going into the fourth quarter. They were up 17-10, and I thought once that kind of got to that point, I was really starting to feel like this game was going to get grinded down by this Duke offense, and they were able to kind of do that in a sense. They just ate a lot of clock, and even though they weren't doing all sorts of really impressive things with the ball or getting a touchdown or what have you, they were kind of chewing enough clock to make you feel pretty good about it. But again, Virginia just had enough magic to make things happen and tie the game late. Virginia turned it over on downs with about 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and they were down 17-10. Duke then took 5:28 off the clock, going just 28 yards, ended up punting. Then Chandler Morris throws that interception. You say, okay, that is it. It's curtains. It's a 20-10 lead in about probably 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and they were really able to um, battle back. And despite being down 20-10, they get a drive. The drive stalled. Kind of, I forget if it was in the red zone for UVA or what, but watching that drive and that just again, Chandler Morris got pressured, throws it, couldn't complete it over there in the end zone, and then they kicked the field goal. And I said, okay, well, they're going to have a chance to get a stop and get the ball back, but I just didn't think it was going to be a lot of time. And Tony Elliott managed it really well. Duke just couldn't get through, and break through and pick up a first down that they needed to put the game on ice. They punted away, and UVA goes 10 plays, 96 yards. Just incredible. Really just tremendous drive there. 18-yard touchdown pass from Chandler Morris to get that game tied. And man, Eli Wood was on the verge of being, statue celebrity status in Charlottesville to tie the game, send it to overtime, and Duke goes right down the field. And I wonder, and I, truthfully should have texted Johnny Brewer this and asked him, but they committed to the run in overtime. Duke ran the ball 11 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 0 yards. Then they finally throw it, and even the announcers say, well, interesting move to get away from the run there. Then they go zero, they get stuffed, and then a touchdown pass to Halsley on an incredible scramble. Just Darian Mensah keeping his eyes downfield, was able to find his safety valve, kind of his last option, and get the touchdown. And then Chandler Morris throws the interception the next drive on the opening play to end it. And I feel for Chandler Morris, known him a long time and his family, but Duke went out there and took it. And I got to spend a little bit of time with Manny Diaz at ACC Media Days, and I just haven't spent time with Tony Elliott, so I don't know him as well. But what a stand-up, just class act type of guy that Manny Diaz is. And I think he understands today's day and age of college football really well. He understands the players. He understands the all the different things in their life that they have to deal with right now, from still going to class, dealing with NIL, dealing with egos and managing practice and depth charts and all of those things. And he just does it the right way. And Duke's season has not been what they wanted it to be. With the expectations around Darian Mensah, they don't win one of their power conference, non-conference games. They kind of backdoor their way into the ACC Championship game with a little help from his buddy Rhett Lashley and SMU. And they go out there and they take it. And it's kind of funny. I was thinking about this. I didn't tweet it I just didn't want to, have the mentions blow up. But Rhett Lashley last year, Manny Diaz this year, two former Miami coaches, whether it be coordinator or head coach, getting to the ACC Championship in the last 2 years since leaving Coral Gables. Just a really interesting piece there that Miami fans were probably at the time stewing on. Now they're not worrying about it as much that they're in the college football playoff. But Manny Diaz is just such a great guy, and for them to get this done, congratulations to them. They earned it. They went out there and absolutely took it from Virginia, and that's what you've got to do in games like this. It's where last year's game that absolutely delivered on many, many levels. It's where last year's game for SMU, they didn't take it from Clemson. They got back, they came back, they made it a game, but they were not able to finish the job. And you've got to do that, and you've got to find different ways to make it to that point of your game and your championship push, where you have to close it and take it from the other team sometimes. And Virginia had been, throughout the season, they had been the top team in the ACC. That's where they had been. And so Duke had to go out there and take it from them as, the underdog, kind of the team that was challenging and trying to stir it up and ruin the ACC as far as the college football playoff goes. They had all of that, kind of pitted against them. Well, they went out there and they took it. And so kudos to them for doing that. They played a great brand of defense that really stifled Virginia for 90% of the game. And, that really stood out to me as just how ready Manny Diaz had that defense ready to go, pushing and creating pressure on Chandler Morris. They just did a great job. So you got to give them a lot of credit for how they played and how they were ready to go from the start, and going down there and scripting a great opening drive to go up 7-0 and then take advantage of that start and kind of it felt like Duke played from ahead the entire time, even though UVA ended up tying the game. So at 7 and then Duke pulled away. So a really interesting competitive ACC championship game. It did not bring the star power that the ACC needs from a week to week basis in the conference, but it was the two teams that were supposed to be there, per the tiebreakers. The next step for the ACC now is to go out this offseason very quickly and figure out the 9-game schedule, get it done, get another data point, and figure out a way to make it happen. Because this league, I don't want to say, I mean, it has egg on its face because its champion is not in the college football playoff, but it has the best team in the conference in the college football playoff. So if Miami takes advantage of that and goes on a little run here, that's great. They can reward the committee for their decision. If Miami goes out and loses, the committee should obviously throw the results away from the last year, but it's going to stick in the back of the minds of some committee members next year, I'm sure. And so this is a big opportunity for Miami to take advantage of this lifeline and go get it done. At the same time, the league still has to fix what's going on with this conference championship. They have to. They can't let this be as it is and let the championship game participants be left to this level of a tiebreaker. They need one more data point. They need a 9-game schedule. So Jim Phillips has his work cut out for himself getting this 9-game schedule done. It'll take a lot of work with the ACC office and these schools to get it done. But it's time for these schools and it's time for the ACC to not sit back and allow some of the things that have been able to happen, both from narratives and from pure operational standpoints, to be as they are. They need to go out there and, like Duke taking the ACC championship, they got to go out there and take back a little bit of the narrative around the league. The Big 12 has it on them right now, I would say. They have a league that has 2 superstar programs in Texas Tech and BYU. Now, both of those teams don't play anybody in non-conference. They didn't. It's just the truth. So they were able to build a resume that at least brought national attention. And then they played their Big 12 9-game schedule. That was fine. They played some top 25 teams. They really were able to build a perfect world where those two teams, those two best teams in their conference, ended up in Arlington playing for the Big 12 championship. Again, in part because of the 9-game schedule. The ACC has to fix that. They have to figure that out and make it happen to change the narrative around this league. Because once that happens, yes, it could still be a competitive league. But if the teams that are most invested, if the teams that have the best rosters have one more game in the regular season to figure out maybe an extra win on their resume in league play, that's a good thing. Imagine if Miami had one extra opportunity. Imagine if Georgia Tech had one extra opportunity. Imagine if Pitt had one extra opportunity, especially with the way Pitt started this year. Imagine if SMU had one more opportunity there to kind of right some of the weird, wrongs with their 2 losses against teams they shouldn't have lost to. those are all things that can ultimately help the league. And Virginia could have proved it's a contender or a pretender, or they would have been out in general because one of their non-conference losses was the NC State. That would have been the ninth conference game. So a really interesting situation for SMU to be in, or for the ACC to be in, as Pony Up 214 just entered the chat. So that was why I misspoke there. Let's go, Billy. Baylor did decline, and love these lives. Well, we appreciate you being here, and we love seeing you Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 to 8 a.m. Central on All Access AM. So the ACC has work to do in fixing their narrative around their league. The simple thing, 9-game conference schedule. Let's start there. As we get into bowl season, we've got a lot of games to break down. 11 ACC programs are going bowling, and some really good opportunities for the league to kind of strike back against some of the narratives. And that is going to be the hard part for this league. And you don't want to make it an incredible pressure point for a lot of these teams, because there's going to be opt-outs. There's going to be transfers that are going to go ahead and leave the team or announce that they're leaving the team. And there's going to be coaching changes as well. And all of those things are going to impact these bowl games as well. So, and that goes for the other side of the ball too, whoever they're playing. Those things could impact them as well. And at the same time, the ACC needs a really good bowl result. They need to be doing what the ACC basketball teams did in the SEC Challenge, where it was respectable. It was a 9-7 split, going to the SEC. If the ACC can have a just solid bowl season, that would go a long way. So speaking of planning things, you've got your event coming up. You've got some holiday parties. You've always done the same old, same old. Well, think about going to Corporate Magic and taking it to the next level for your company, your business. You can use them as an incredible partner to build out world-renowned events. I'm not talking about your holiday party. That was just a lead-in. Corporate Magic does national sales meetings. They do concerts. They do huge multi-million-dollar productions, and they do them around the globe and with different countries and all these different partners. You need a team that understands how the big stage works, and to make your big stage come alive at the level you expect. So visit corporatemagic.com. Their link is in our podcast episode description, and check out what they can do for you. Just an outstanding high level of work. They work around the globe with different brands and different companies and different people to create lasting memories and create an impact that will go far beyond the dollar you spend with them. So visit our friends at corporatemagic.com for more information on how they can help your brand, help your company reach that next level. Bowl season is upon us. The ACC, of course, led by Miami, going to the college football playoff. We'll see that game happen. That is going to be the Saturday 11 a.m. Central Time game. So College Station will be bumping. I actually kind of want to go to that one. I don't know if I'd be able to pull a credential there, but maybe we'll see. Maybe the ACC All Access AM fam will come together for us, and we'll be down there. But College Station is going to be an absolute zoo. I don't know if anybody wants a part of that if you're not covering the actual teams in a really in-depth way, but it'd be fun nonetheless to make it down there for that one as Miami heads to Texas A&M. They, again, that Saturday, December 20th, 11 a.m. Central Time matchup on ABC and ESPN. They've got the double broadcast. Let's run down the bowl games for the ACC. These are in chronological order. So for the most part, it should be quite the run of, good matchups to better matchups, more successful ACC teams. But let's jump in here. A little bit of a, appetizer for the college football playoff. December 19th, Friday, December 19th, in my hometown of Tampa, Florida, the Gasparilla Bowl welcomes NC State and Memphis to Tampa. And this will be just the first ever meeting between NC State and Memphis. NC State has particularly played well against the American Athletic Conference, 7-2 all time. You've got C.J. Bailey returning to his home state. Hollywood Smothers can build on his stardom and potentially reach 1,000 yards on the season. You also have the Wolfpack looking to get to 8-5. Memphis comes in at 8-4, and I think for Dave Dorian, who's coming back, this would be a good opportunity to maybe build some momentum, finish strong. It's been a season of ups and downs for him. Obviously the wins over Georgia Tech and doing some of the things that they did this season, but you also have the downs. Talking about, is he on the hot seat? Is he going to come back? Well, this is a way to kind of confirm that they made the right choice in bringing Dave Dorian back for another year. Finish with an 8-5, finish with an 8-5 record would be nice for the Wolfpack. So you get into that one, and then you get next week. This is kind of that week of bowl games that is just so awesome around Christmas, and you're sitting around, you're eating, you're having some cocktails. Maybe you're having some Socorro tequila. So I've got my Socorro tequila polo on. You're enjoying some time with family. Well, this is when you get the mindless football games on. And this is the Bush's Best Boca Raton Bowl of Beans down there in Boca Raton. Louisville faces Toledo. This is, if you want to circle a can't lose game for the ACC, right here, right now, this is one right off the bat. Jeff Brom and the Cardinals face Toledo, a very good MAC team, 6-2 in MAC play. Both teams come in at 8-4 overall, though. This is a familiar setting for Jeff Brom. He did lead Western Kentucky to a 51-31 win over Memphis back in 2016 in the Boca Raton Bowl. That was a lifetime ago for all sides of things, including the just world in general. But Louisville does come into this game, wondering if they're going to have all their available stars at running back, their contributors. But at the same time, Toledo is a MAC team. You'd like to see Louisville kind of flex their muscles like they did in the last game of the regular season and get to 9-4 overall. Both teams, again, enter at 8-4 in this one. That's Tuesday, December 23rd. December 24th, on that Wednesday, all the way out in Honolulu, Hawaii, the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl, California making the trek out to face Hawaii. So Hawaii enters the game 8-4. Cal sitting at 7-5. They just announced that Sagapitelli, Jaron Kiova Sagapitelli, the quarterback, the outstanding freshman, has committed to returning to Cal for the 2026 season. Huge news for new head coach Tosh Lapoy and general manager Ron Rivera as they start to build out their staff and take that program into its new era after moving on from Justin Wilcox. Cal makes its first ever appearance in the Hawaii Bowl. I thought that was interesting. But you've got JKS back. He's from Hawaii. This should be a very well-attended Hawaii Bowl, I would think. You do have Nick Rolovich, the interim head coach at Cal, who's going to obviously coach this game again for the Bears. He was Hawaii's coach from 2016 to 19 before he took over at Washington State. So this is going to be a really intriguing one because of kind of those ties with JKS in Hawaii, and then you get obviously Hawaii being the home team. So should be a fun one Christmas Eve. That's always a good one to watch and have on in the background as you're maybe having some of your Christmas traditions or reading the night before Christmas to your kids. Then we get a little bit of a break from ACC football. Then Saturday, December 27th, you've got the Go Bowling Military Bowl over in Annapolis. Pitt makes a short-ish trek to face off against East Carolina out of the American. This is another game that I would say is kind of in that can't lose-ish world, just because, again, East Carolina, an 8-4 ACC or 8-4 AAC team, 6-2 in the American. You'd like to see Pitt bounce back from their late season, not even collapse. They just kind of faced a buzzsaw in Miami, a college football playoff team, and Notre Dame. So you want to see them kind of split their last four games instead of finishing 1-3 in their final four games. Mason Heinschel will get a chance to kind of continue to show he's going to be one of the top returning quarterbacks in the ACC next year. And we're excited to obviously watch him. We're big Mason Heinschel fans on this show. And East Carolina, though, don't sleep on them. The Pirates are doing a great job over there. They really have kind of put it all together. That's one of the more intriguing environments if you've never been to Greenville. when that place is full, I can imagine it being an absolute blast to be in. It kind of reminds me from a stadium perspective. I've been to both. I've seen a game at East Carolina. I've seen North Carolina State Stadium. It kind of reminds me a little bit of NC State's stadium and their setup. Blake Harrell, the head coach there, is doing a good job. He was promoted from DC to head coach in 2024. Again, 8-4 East Carolina team. You'd like to see Pitt finish on a high note, though, in that one. This is an ACC podcast. Of course, we want to see all these guys finish on high notes, but this one is kind of, I would say, can't lose, but it's also, you're playing in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl in NYC. It's in the Bronx. You're getting Clemson, which is completely not where they want to be. They don't envision themselves in New York around bowl time. The only time they end up wanting to be in NYC around this time of year is if there's a Heisman Trophy ceremony involved. But Clemson takes on Penn State in this game. And when you look at Clemson taking on Penn State, there's also Tom Allen getting to face off against the Nittany Lions, where he just left the previous year to come to Clemson. So Clemson's been hot. They won their last 4 to end the regular season. If they can finish this one off and get to 8-5, that'll at least give them maybe a little bit of momentum heading into the offseason. Garrett Riley, the offensive coordinator, has been linked to some names around to some jobs around the country, and it'll be interesting to see if he'll have a job by then, if he moves on. That's something I'm kind of watching in the coaching carousel world, and we'll be tracking, because if Clemson needs a new offensive coordinator, that'll certainly be news. But he will not be going to Tulane, which just hired Will Hall. I hadn't really seen him as a huge candidate there, but that news did just come across the ticker this morning as we're getting ready for the show. And Will Hall, the former Southern Miss coach, takes over at Tulane. He was the offensive coordinator, or is getting promoted to head coach. He was the offensive coordinator for John Summerall's team. He was the passing game coordinator. He was the offensive coordinator before Summerall got there. So when you look at Clemson, Cade Klubnik, that entire crew, who plays, who doesn't play, that is something that we're keeping a close eye on as well. In that one, I would assume Dabo Swinney can kind of rally the troops and get them into a spot where they're going to be having as many guys as possible play in that football game. But that is a Penn State team that has been, from a roster perspective, very good throughout the season as far as being competitive and kind of playing above their weight class since firing James Franklin. It'll be interesting to watch and see what happens with that one. But man, what a powerful matchup in a just very sad bowl game. They're playing in Yankee Stadium, everyone. So as we can continue on kind of giving you guys the lay of the bowl season land for the ACC, you also have the Pop-Tarts Bowl on that Saturday. And this one, Georgia Tech, BYU. This was, of course, where Notre Dame was rumored to be playing. And another piece of that Notre Dame thing that came across my desk, so to speak, over the last 24 hours is you have the Notre Dame aspect of them playing a million football games over the last couple of years. They've really played a lot of ball. That's another piece of maybe why they're sitting out. But Georgia Tech is the beneficiary of this. They get to play BYU. This is a big branding opportunity for the ACC. The Yellow Jackets take on BYU in the Pop-Tarts Bowl in Orlando. This is always a well-covered bowl. This is a game that will get attention, and the Pop-Tart group does a terrific job putting it on. Of course, for many of you guys probably don't know this at all. The ACC has ACC Media Days in July. Well, the Pop-Tart Bowl was a part of that. A part of that for us. They brought the Pop-Tarts out and kind of created a little bit of awareness going into the season. On that same Saturday, December 27th, we also have the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida. This was one that I heard great things about over the last couple of years as far as a bowl to go to. You got the golf up there in Jacksonville. You've got, Jacksonville Beach you could go to if you want to. But Virginia stays on the East Coast. and takes on Missouri. 10-3 Virginia, 7-1 in ACC play in the regular season. Missouri 8-4 overall, 4-4 in SEC play. This was a Missouri team that was in the top 25, was counted on by some teams as a quality win. Well, they end up in the Gator Bowl, and they will have Bo Pribula playing at quarterback for them in this one. Chandler Morris will look to close out his college career with an 11-win season. Tony Elliott and this Virginia team really hoping to be on the right side of finishing this season, and getting a win over the SEC would do that. I watched a little bit of Missouri play, but Ahmad Hardy is really what you need to know. If this Virginia defense can slow him down, that's going to help them in a huge way in this game, and we'll see. I would lean Missouri early. I just think that front is going to be really difficult for them to take on. Joe Zia, thanks for listening. Why can't I play this live show in the background with my screen off like other live shows? I'm not sure. That is a YouTube question, but the vertical live streams for YouTube is new. So keep that in mind. It is a new thing. And if you want to go, if you found this show, one, we appreciate it. And I do appreciate the fantastic show comment. If you found this show and you like it, search All Access AM on YouTube. And for some reason right now, Google has it where the live stream for vertical and the live stream for horizontal, there we go. How about the hand gestures there? Do run as separate shows. But if you like aviation, given some good, refresh the YouTube app. That is how you can watch it vertically, I guess. But if you like the show and you want to watch us all the time and get the notifications for when we're live, Google All Access AM YouTube, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and then just figure out which one is the horizontal feed for us. But appreciate Aviation for chiming in the chat there with the refresh the YouTube comment. And thanks for joining us, Joe, as well on mobile. So continuing on, a few more games to go here, and we'll wrap up and get you guys out of here on this Monday. But New Year's Eve, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. This is where I was on the verge of going for bowl season. Duke taking on Arizona State, 8-5 Duke, champions of the ACC, taking on Arizona State, a college football playoff team from a year ago, in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. It is a 1 p.m. Central Time kick in this one. So a great way to kind of start off your New Year's Eve day. You can take the rest of the day off and kind of start enjoying the college football playoff that evening as well. Duke does come into this game with a really highly touted passing and scoring offense. Of course, Arizona State will have to contend with that. How will Kenny Dillingham's team come out in this one? It's a team that is rumored that Sam Leavitt is not going to be back. You've got some of those things that college football teams have to face year in, year out, are already kind of starting to show themselves a little bit. That's something that I'm keeping a close eye on with this matchup for Arizona State and Duke, but especially Arizona State is what does their roster look like? This is an opportunity for Duke to get back to 500 as a bowl team. They have won 6 of their last 7 postseason bowl games. So I guess maybe they've not been 500 in bowl games in a long, long time, but they are 8-9 all time. So if they win this one, they will have won 7 of their last 8 postseason games, and they will be back to 500 at a 9-9 record. I thought that was an interesting tidbit from our friends at the ACC there. January 2nd, that Friday, Duke is not playing in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, but this one right in Charlotte, North Carolina, does welcome Wake Forest, a team that could be a trendy sleeper pick for a trip to Charlotte for the ACC Championship next year, takes on 5-7 Mississippi State. This is a Mississippi State team that is the benefit of the bowl world needing teams that meet the APR requirement. Baylor opted out of a bowl game. You had a lot of teams that it took to fill out this entire bowl slate. So I think we'll see some changes in the end to the bowl schedule and slate moving forward now that Notre Dame did this. But nonetheless, Wake Forest with an opportunity to beat an SEC team that finished 1-7 in league play. 5-7 overall, one of those wins over Arizona State in an intriguing early season non-conference win for the Bulldogs and Jeff Lebby. But Wake Forest has a chance to slow down Jeff Lebby, the offensive-minded head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, with a January 2nd game against Mississippi State in that Duke's Mayo Bowl. It's a 7 p.m. Central Time kick. This is a late bowl game, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's just the fourth time this will be the fourth time in Wake Forest's 11 bowl appearances that they'll play in Charlotte back in 2007, 17, and 20. So a familiar face or area for for Wake Forest in the Duke Mayo Bowl. Did get a question from Aviation in the chat. Appreciate you, as always, being here. But thoughts on Notre Dame skipping a bowl game? Very soft, in my opinion. I'd want to go show the world my team can play. I agree. I'm not a fan of them skipping the bowl game in any world. Now, you could say, you can keep it real, first and foremost. We're disappointed. We're unhappy. Would the Catholics say this? I'm pissed. But we're going to go, and we're going to go have a great time. We're going to go to Orlando. We're going to face BYU. By the way, Catholics versus Mormons, I mean, you give up that opportunity. I don't know what they're doing there. But we're going to go have a good time. We're going to try to make the best of it. We're going to play a bunch of guys. We're going to play our young guys. We're going to give them practices. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And guess what? If we win the game, great. But personally, we don't care. I mean, if they really wanted to keep it real, that is where they could have taken that route. They got snubbed. They feel they were snubbed. They could have controlled it on the field by beating Miami. Instead, they lost a close one. Same goes for their loss against Texas A&M. And the rest of their schedule they could have controlled, but they didn't. So Notre Dame opting out bothers me from the standpoint that there are a bunch of seniors that is their last game, and it's done. It's over with. There are guys that are going to leave early for the NFL draft. That's their last game. It's over. It's done. They've already played it. And, really, with the portal being January 2nd now, just play the damn game. I mean, it's just they would have played December 27th in the Pop-Tarts Bowl against BYU. What's wrong with that? I don't see the harm. I don't understand it. And it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so for me, watching that unfold, I really feel for the Notre Dame players because there's a lot of different ways you could have approached it. You could have approached it legitimately as hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to scrimmage BYU and we're going to play a bunch of players. And we're going to play a bunch of our young players. And we're going to protect Jeremiah Love, who's going to go, I think he's draft eligible. We're going to go out there and let so-and-so play. We're going to let Rudy play. I mean, what other program in the country has a more easy out as far as playing guys who over their career have done so much but played so little for a program in a bowl game and give them a reward than Notre Dame? I mean, they could have just said, we're going to play all our Rudies. And they could have done that and just thrown the competitive nature out and treated it like a reward, which it doesn't feel like a reward because Notre Dame got snubbed. But that's really what the bowl system is now predicated to, is being a reward, being a just opportunity for you to get one more game in, play some young guys, and hopefully win it. But in the ACC's world, they need it right now to control some narratives. They got to be on the right side of it. They need to do all of those things. But in Notre Dame's world where they've got their cushy NBC deal and all those things, I don't understand why they're not playing the game. The only other reason is we're ticked off. We want to make a statement. And by the way, we've played a bunch of football games over the last 2 years, and we're going to just kind of take a reset, regroup, and go on to 2026, which is what their statement said. So I do think it's soft. I just wish that people would acknowledge that the bowl games don't really matter. But unfortunately, in this world, they're used as narratives. But you got guys opting out. You got quarterbacks who won't play. You've got this. You've got that. I mean, can we just get past that bowl games matter? Their rewards, their opportunities, and the quicker that media don't use them for narratives, the better this world is going to be. So let the guys go have fun, play a bunch of players, and give them a good trip. So that's why you don't really see any bowl games in awful places to go for the most part. I'm sure there's some that people feel that way about. But last but certainly not least, speaking of a great place to go, SMU heads off to the Trust and Will Holiday Bowl in San Diego, California to play number 17 Arizona. 9-3 Wildcats, 6-3 in the Big 12, and they are a tall task for the Mustangs here. But SMU coming in 8-4, 6-2 in league play. You have an SMU team that should be motivated to win their first bowl game since the 2012 Hawaii Bowl. I know Rhett Lashley and the staff are not happy with the way this season ended for them in Cal. Losing out on an opportunity to play in the ACC Championship. But here's an opportunity to show that all the things that you are continuing to build towards as a program are continuing to show up. You know, the Miami win that they got this year, the beatdown of Louisville at home, and just some of the ways that they were able to go on the road and beat a Clemson team that, as they showed over the last 4 games of the regular season, very competitive team, just were on kind of in a bad spot overall. This is an opportunity for SMU on January 2nd to show that they are not that they're not going in the right direction, but that some of the letdowns this season, 3 losses by a total of 7 points, aren't the I guess consistent pieces of this season. If they go out and beat a top 25 Arizona team, that would kind of be a really nice feather in the cap for Rhett Lashley and the staff to cap this year. It's not the year that they wanted to have. It's not the win-loss record. It's not the results. It's not the bowl game they want to be in by any means. But they have a chance to show that they just ended up on the wrong side of some close games. And sometimes that happens in college football. It really does. But they get a tall task against Arizona. SMU is 3rd nationally in takeaways, so they'll take their stab at doing all of that. But Arizona, I mean, their only losses to Iowa State, who was a top 25 team, BYU in overtime, and then Houston, a close one, losing 31-28 on the road. So this is a Arizona team that is pretty good, and they will give SMU a lot of challenges and a lot of issues as they go into this one. And SMU will really have to be on their game. Noah Fafita is the Arizona quarterback. He's thrown just 5 interceptions on the season, so that'll be put to the test. And SMU and Arizona have met 2 times. Their last previous matchup all the way back in 1985. So this is a huge opportunity for SMU to go out to San Diego, show that they're not just there to have a good time, but create some fun in the winning. SMU fans might know that old reference there. So with that, appreciate Eric Oski and you guys all in the chat for joining us on this All Access AM. We are live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 to 8 a.m. Central Time, 8 to 9 Eastern Time. Please Google All Access AM YouTube. If you're watching us on Twitter or if you're watching us somewhere else, hit that subscribe button for me, please. That helps us out. That helps us grow the show. It does nothing for you unless you want to turn on the notifications, which we'd love, but you don't have to do that. So just hit the subscribe button and give us a good Christmas gift of getting over 200 subs. We might have done it by this point of the show. So great to see many of the regulars in the chat. Great to see Joe as well, who found us this morning, it seems like. So, or maybe he's been listening a while. I don't know. But he commented, and I appreciate it. And thank you guys for joining us on this edition of All Access AM. We'll talk a little bit more on the coaching changes that have gone on in the league on the Wednesday show. We ran a little long today, so want to break down some of that, and we'll kind of go at it from a little bit of a overall scenarios of where the league is as far as coaching changes and building out these coaching staffs on Wednesday's show. So we talked playoff, we talked ACC Championship, we talked bowl games. We hope this got your Monday off to a great start. Appreciate our sponsors, Security National Bank. Again, securitynational.bank is their website. You can get on the phone with them, find their phone number there, and reach out to them and start the process of at least seeing what that would be like to join their family-run bank, and they can help manage your wealth for you. And we appreciate our friends Sportsmo app. Sportsmo app is what you can download and support your favorite college football team or basketball team. It's starting to get into the basketball world here very soon as well. And then, of course, Corporate Magic, corporatemagic.com, where you can find all the information on how they can help your company build out an incredible event. So appreciate our Monday sponsors. Appreciate all of you for listening. And we will catch you Wednesday morning, 7 to 8 a.m. Central on All Access AM. I'm Billy Embody. We'll catch you then.